Hey, 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 welcome to Spilling with Lee. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so happy to be here. I've been meaning to upload a video all week to talk about the Diddy trial. If you follow me on TikTok, you will see some of the videos, and I'll make sure to put them in my shorts as well with more daily updates. And then the last 2 days, I was actually just kind of overwhelmed with all of the emotion, all of the information, all of the details, lots of mixed emotions. So I kind of had to step back. So today, I'm going to recap a few things from the week. And honestly, a lot of you who are interested in the trial, you probably already have the details from some other channels, other bloggers. So I'm not going to go into a lot of details. I'm going to recap and just share some things that people may be thinking about when it comes to what's happening in the trial right now. Would love to hear your comments. So be sure to subscribe, hit that notification button, follow me, all the things. Check me out on TikTok if you're just finding me here, and stay tuned. It's going to be 8 weeks or more, and it should be really interesting. And so let's go. All right. So we know that this week, again, I'm not going to share a lot of the details because you can find those pretty much everywhere right now. But I will share a few things. So we know that this week started the trial, and they came out swinging. The federal government and the prosecution. So we started off with the security guard from the Intercontinental. He is now a police officer, but he shared his testimony. And it was really interesting hearing it and also seeing the video. So, one of the things that the defense wanted was the video slowed down because they thought it would make a difference. And honestly, this is probably contrary to many people's opinions. I actually think it did make a difference. I don't think it justified, obviously, what happened in the video. He still kicked her, he still did all the things, but when the video is sped up, it does look a lot more aggressive. Not that it wasn't, it was still bad, but it did make it look worse. And I actually watched the full video where you didn't see, and again, I am not defending Diddy. I'm just giving you more perspective that when um, he kicked her, dragged her around the corner, she must have gotten back up and walked and got on a phone in the hall. He came toward her again, and you can't really see what's happening then. I think that might have been the time where he must have sat down and threw something at her. But there were other opportunities for him to beat her, hit her, do more damage to her. And it looked like it was more of a verbal argument, disagreement, not justifying what happened at all. But there was a lot more that happened in that video. And and in addition, we see the security guard come. There's conversation between him and Diddy. You can see the security guard actually kind of laugh with Diddy, like they were exchanging. Honestly, in my mind, what I was thinking was, it was like, yeah, these women, man, just she got mad, she jealous, going off, right? Although the security guard didn't share any of that type of information or any like that there was that type of banter. But in the video, there was some type of like laughter or something like that happening. But also, you can also see the security guard like looking like, this mess, like somebody's got to pay for this. Um, Fast forward, interestingly enough, Cassie ended up getting a $10 million settlement demand from Intercontinental last week. That blew me away. And I'm not saying that the hotel was not in the wrong, because they clearly knew something was happening. Police was not called. Like, there were a lot of things that were not done properly, according to even his own testimony. They never called the police. They kind of let her go. I don't think they really did anything to him. Someone took a bribe. There was money. The security guard testified there was money, like I think he said a big bag of cash, and he tried to bribe him. That didn't work. But he said when he came in his next work day, the video was gone. So people have wondered, in case you haven't heard in other outlets, how did the video resurface? Well, the security guard wanted to show his wife, so he had recorded it on his personal phone and took it home. And I guess when everything came out, he sent it to CNN. So that was all came out day one. We also heard from a male escort that Cassie and Diddy would do things with, I guess, more frequently than maybe some others. And I think what the prosecution is trying to do is definitely character witness, establish what was happening in that video. Although I don't think he was the person in the room at the time, because they did say in that Intercontinental video, there was an escort in the video, in that room, right? So I guess also proving that she was trying to get away from a freak off. So anyway, the next witness was a male escort, and just talked about some of the very horrible things that happened to Cassie. Witnessed lots of violence, beating up, some degrading things that happened during the freak offs, where he felt like not all of it was completely consensual, that she was being forced into it to some degree. And then we get to Cassie's testimony again when the prosecution is interviewing her. Again, more graphic details. You really felt like she was coerced, that she was somewhat almost a slave. Horrible things happening, even sharing as much details to the mouth sores that she would get, the UTIs that she would get because it was so frequent. There was one quote that she said that was really jarring when she talked about that there was no time for anything else. It was her job, right? And so it was pretty much weekly. And the damaging part of this, there was a lot of damaging part, and I hate to even admit that, but she was the one that would organize the freak off. So she would get the escorts, pay them, and do all the things, right? And I could see, like, Diddy is famous, right? So he is not gonna do that. And then if they're trying to keep it somewhat private, he's not asking his staff to do that much of the detail of the work, although there has been people saying that they did have to help set up the room and do other things. So I think his staff and that people knew it was happening, but Cassie was in charge of paying, getting those type of details together. So I do think that that will come back to hurt him later on in the trial. So keeping that part in mind as well, that was kind of unsettling. So again, for the next couple of days, the prosecution questioned Cassie, and again went into a lot of details. Your heart was kind of pretty much breaking. They talked about Kid Cudi, the car blowing up, the arson, jealousy. She was filming a movie with Michael B. Jordan, and they were going to try to start something, and some fear around that. So there was definitely some fear Then the defense questioned Cassie, and this is where things started to unravel. And I can see if people who don't understand abuse or have never been in a very complicated love relationship can really blame Cassie for all of this, because the defense, I think, actually did a pretty good job of showing the complexities, honestly, of the relationship, because there were many text messages during good times where Diddy talked about how much he loved her, how his love, he was consumed by her love, didn't want things to end with her, wanted to hold her one last time. There were some nice exchanges where you could see his heart, and that was hard to hear and hard to see, because at the other side, he all the things that he actually did to her. So the prosecution, I mean, the defense actually did a pretty good job of showing that. And then we also see and hear that even after she started dating her current husband, Alex Fine, there were still some interactions between Diddy and Cassie. Once she did say, when she was being interviewed by the prosecution, that he had raped her, and the defense brought that back up, and there were some discrepancies there. She apparently was dating Alex at the time, and then even after that incident, she had one last hookup with Diddy that was consensual. So that my mind cannot wrap my I can't wrap my mind around that. Like how, why, all the things. But I think it's not for us too, because again, I'm sure they're going to have an expert come, but I think it's so complicated. She was with him for really almost over 10 years. Um, and so there's just lots of layers to what was happening mentally between both of them. So that was really difficult to hear and see all of that play out. Um, Again, we heard about the settlement she got from the Intercontinental. They did paint out she had a addiction. They did paint out that she had cheated. Even when she got with Diddy, she had cheated on her boyfriend, Ryan Leslie, who was 10 years her senior, her producer, manager, and cheated with Diddy, and then went to Diddy, and then she tried to cheat with Kid Cudi, all these things. So they're painting the picture of her being on drugs, being loose, a cheater, all the things. So that was difficult to watch. And so you don't know how the jury is going to take all of that in, remembering all of her testimony. And then that was hard. So then, after the cross-examination ended on Friday, I believe that was early Friday, then the prosecution or the prosecution could come back and redirect and ask a couple of more questions. And they did just a few questions. The judge, who is very timely, orderly, wants to keep things going, gave them, you got 2 minutes. Like, we promised her she'd be off of the stand by the end of the week. We got to get this moving. So I love the way he is like organizing the court. Oh, by the way, they also were able to see videos and still images of some of the freak offs and the recordings. And they again showed a lot about how Diddy would threaten to release them. And she wanted to be a singer. She wanted to have a career. So that was another aspect of it. So there, so it was hard to watch. And so they redirected. But I was talking about the judge is keeping a tight courtroom, and they had the privacy screens so the jury and the attorneys can see what was happening on the videos, the still images, all of that. There were reports that the jury definitely reacted, like shockingly, to a lot of the images and videos that they were seeing. But okay, so I'm going to give you my thoughts on that in just a minute. I just want to talk about the last two witnesses and then where I think there may be some problems. So then they had the agent come, and this is an agent who went to search Diddy's room after he was arrested in New York City. He was staying at the Park Hyatt in Manhattan. Um, and of course, I think he knew that he was going to be arrested soon. And more than likely, he knew within that week or something like that. He knew it was coming. Like at this level, and his attorneys, the arrest was not a surprise. I think he even agreed to live in New York while all of this was playing out so that it didn't appear he was on the run and that he was cooperating and all the things, right? So they search his hotel and find baby oil, drugs with the name Frank Black on it. And that name came up in Cassie's testimony that that was a name that they would use. And then some type of strobe lights or something like that, all indicating that he was probably setting up to have some type of freak off. Now, freak offs are not illegal. They're not illegal, right? So it's interesting that they decided to share that information because it's not breaking any law. And this is where I want to get into. Let me talk about the next person. They brought up Don Richards, singer from Danity Kane. If you remember the reality TV show that he did, she was brown skin girl. She got kicked off at the end. She wasn't as verbal as Aubrey O'Day, but there was some things that went back and forth. And so she only testified at this point about seeing some of the abuse that Cassie endured. And then they had to end for the day. So this is where the struggle comes. Clearly, Diddy has done some horrible things. That relationship and other things to other people was horrible. But the charges, which are X trafficking, RICO charges, and transporting people for X, right? That has not quite been proven. And I trust the Southern District of New York Federal, like they have such a high rate of conviction. I'm assuming they know what they're doing. They're building the case up to something, and you kind of have to trust that they know what they're doing. But so far, I don't know if it's that they're building that this guy is a horrible guy. He has a horrible character. And also the fact that he can't do all of this alone. Like, who's getting the drugs for him? The escorts, all the type things we see that Cassie did some of that, but was there more? Cassie testified several times that when things went left with them and she left or she wasn't accessible, people would come after her, his people, his bodyguards, all the things. His assistant came and got her one day out of bed and just all the things. So I'm not sure if that's how they're going to build that RICO case. And even with the trafficking, it sounded like the escorts were willing. I don't think there was anyone he was traveling over state lines that didn't want to go unless they're talking about Cassie. So it is going to be a challenge. And I know it's week one, and I've been reading the blogs and the comments on social media. And there are a lot of people that were like, yeah, he's a jerk. He's a horrible guy, but we're not seeing what the prosecution is charging him with. So how is this all going to come together? And I think we just have to wait and see. And it's like watching a story build and all of it kind of come together. So it's going to be interesting. to see how all of this will come together. I'm kind of on pins and needles because I believe so many people have been triggered with Cassie's testimony, all of these things happening. And if he gets away with it, even if it's for the right reasons, even if it's because the federal government did not charge him with the right crimes, because domestic violence, there's a state and there's a statute of limitations to that. So he can't really be charged with that right now. So did they get too aggressive? Did they get too happy with it and thought that they could, like, yes, he's a horrible person and let's sock it to him? I don't know. I just don't know how this is all going to come together. I was reading somewhere, and I would love for this to happen, that if they could somehow bring in the things that happened with Shine at the club that night, bring in things we know about mysterious deaths around him, Kim Porter, all those things, just to show more of the RICO. Like, we can't necessarily prove that you did it, but you have an organization, you have things set up where we think that you ordered it, you were involved in it. And let's just kind of clear up a very simple way to think about RICO. RICO at its core, and why a lot of people decide to use RICO, you can put a lot of stuff under RICO. RICO at its core is organized crime, racketeering. Was there a way, does it show that he had people in place? He paid people, he had an enterprise of people that were helping to execute certain crimes. I think he did, for sure. But they haven't really shown it or proven it yet. And it's only week 1, so it could be coming, but just understanding what RICO is, which I think is really the bigger charge that they're trying to execute. So we will have to wait and see. But that's just a very, very high level, quick recap of the week of the Diddy trial, and just some thoughts that I had about it, and would love to hear some of your thoughts. Do you think they're showing RICO? Do you think they're going to be able to show it? The settlement from Intercontinental with Cassie, does that sway your opinion at all? The sweet love messages from Diddy to Cassie, did that impact you? Did that change anything for you? Would love to hear your thoughts on that. So again, comment below. Make sure you subscribe and join me next week. Follow me on TikTok for more daily updates and thoughts. And then I think maybe twice a week, I'll upload a video here on YouTube and keep you all up to date, and maybe talk about some other thoughts that we may have that are happening in this trial. Again, thank you so much. Subscribe, and I will talk to y'all soon. Have a good one. Shake that ass, make it clap for me, baby. Got them stats so damn fresh out the trap, baby. Get it, girl.